How long have I lived in Wisconsin?
Yep.
All my life.
Hey, Grandpa. Can I have a happy birthday, Tommy? You want that from me? Yes. Happy birthday, Tommy.
I waited outside. I took it remote. I wanted a bed. Tell the story or it goes. Tell the story or it goes. Full time, you talk your money up while it's living in a coal mine. Told time to call your ma. Hey ma, hey ma. Told vote, you know you mope it up. Well, you wanted it to hold that. You're back and forth with that. I waited outside. I was toking on dope. I hope that it'll go in a minute.
Well, I'm Elmer Jacobson, and we're sitting here in my apartment that I rent in Shorewood on Oakland Avenue. I have been here about since Carol passed away in 13, so that gives me about, what, 8 years or something like that I've been here. I was born and raised in Green Bay. Spent some time in the Army after I graduated from high school. Graduated from Madison, so I was there for 4 years. Carol and I owned several homes in Whitefish Bay. We decided to live in Whitefish Bay, so our children were in a different school district than where their father was. I think I went to Shorewood in '54 and retired in '89. So I've been there about 35 years. When Carol passed away, I sold that and moved here, and I've been here since. We were living on the west side of Green Bay, right across the street from the grade school that Jim and Mary and I attended. It was during the difficult times economically for many families at that time. Most of the time, a lot of the time, Dad was unemployed. He would do whatever work he could find. He worked for a sugar beet factory that was between Green Bay and De Pere, working shifts oftentimes at night, trying to make ends meet. Mom was being hired as a domestic for a very wealthy lady in Green Bay. This lady of hers, this good friend, Mrs. Simpson, just Mom grew on her. They had a wonderful relationship of employer-employee. Mom ran her house. It was a very difficult time for her, I'm sure, very tiring, and Mrs. Simpson was not unrealistic, but she had expectations. Dad, in this meantime, would get some days with the railroad and some days not with the railroad, but his initiation seemed to become a railroad employee, which eventually did happen, and he retired from the railroad one day. Good Lord retired him because he really died on the job. He came home one day, and in the morning, Jim and Mom were there, and said he wasn't feeling well, but he said, all right, I'll go back. And with that, Mom and Jim both said, no, you're going to the hospital to find out what's going on. And he, lying in a hospital bed that night, closed his eyes and died. That's where, in effect, Mom and Jim became married. Not legally, not officially, not anything, but this is a relationship. I will take care of you, you can take care of me. Mom lived to be 99 years, 9 months, so she had a long, rich life after she had retired. Jim stayed at home, and as you know, he died several years ago after Mom had passed away already.
Can you tell us how you first met Grandma?
Oh, I first met your grandma. I was at Madison the first year I was there. I came home for a weekend. It was the weekend of before the prom at Madison. I knew about this girl through families and the Moravian Church. They belonged to the East Side Church, I belonged to the West Side Church. And on a lark, I picked up the phone and I told her who I was and said that when they here to invite her to come to Madison and enjoy the prom with me. And lo and behold, she agreed to do that. Remember vividly going out for steak dinner that night before the prom, and she was served a steak, and she kind of gulped when it came and said, my gosh, this is more meat than my whole family eats at one meal. How can I possibly eat all of this? I said, well, you don't have to eat it all, eat what you can, and we'll take the rest along. We had a great time at the prom. She enjoyed it. Next day, I think it was a Sunday, I took her back to the bus depot, and she jumped on the bus and went back to Green Bay, and it just grew from there into one day we got married. But I would say that most of our communication was letters back and forth to each other. An occasional box of cookies that I would get from her that she had baked for snacks for myself and things of that nature. So I had secured a job in Oostburg. There was no place to live in Oostburg, so as a result, we looked for a place to live in Sheboygan, which was about 15 miles from Oostburg. I taught school there 2 years, and we kind of mutually agreed that it was time to move on. Out of the blue, I got a letter from Shorewood High School in Milwaukee, suburban Milwaukee, and they said that they were interested in me since I had renewed my credentials at Madison for a move. They would be interested in me coming to Shorewood to interview. And Shorewood, where is Shorewood? I've never been to Shorewood, knew nothing about Shorewood or the schools, but I said, here's our chance to do something other than Oostburg. I went in, introduced myself, they thanked me for coming. We talked, I suppose, for 20 minutes, a half an hour, and they excused themselves, and I went back to the car, and we drove back to Sheboygan, and I said to Carol on the way home, I said, there's just no way this would work out. This is too good to happen. It's been a good trip, and so the next day we had a letter offering a job in Shorewood, and I don't think that the ink on their paper was dry enough before I signed it and sent it back, and in the fall we moved to Shorewood. I never dreamed I would become a school teacher one day or have education as a career. But it worked out perfectly, and it was a very fulfilling responsibility that I had, and hopefully it went well.
I know these wings of mine will take me home in time, like a bird on a line.
It's been a privilege to be of service to young people in teaching school as I taught. I remember going to my parents and saying I was thinking about becoming a school teacher, and they had both 8th grade educations, and they said, "Oh, we think that's great." They had nothing to offer me other than, "We're behind you. If this is your choice, we're behind you." And it worked out to be maybe one of the best choices I've ever made in my life, other than marrying my wife. Even at the young age, I enjoyed athletics, and I especially enjoyed baseball because I used to go and watch my dad play baseball. Baseball, not softball, baseball. And I thought that'd be fun to do someday. And so I kind of had that in the back of my mind as a motivator over a period of time. But I did play when I was in the service. Played regularly. I played one game at the penitentiary in Wisconsin against a penitentiary team. I often tell people I was in a penitentiary for a short time. It looked like he was a shortstop. I had more interest in the outfield than I was interested in center field. I had enough speed to play center field and judgment, and so strong enough arm that I could throw it to the infield. Some people, some guys my age when we were playing couldn't do that. I could do that, and so that seemed to be where I belonged, and that's where I think I enjoyed playing more than any other position. Enjoyed my baseball tremendously. I can't remember what the date was, October, November. You've been drafted. I was at Fort Sheridan for a few days, got my shots. I remember standing between two doctors, one on each side, and they said to me, "Just relax a little bit," and boom, boom, they hit me like that with 2 shots, and that was the routine at the time. A day or 2 after that, primarily what we were doing was we were unloading troop trains. Many of them had been in the Army for 4, 5, 6, 8 years. They were coming from all around the world. You could pick out those who had illnesses because their skin would be different color, and they were thin, and it was eye-widening. After 3 or 4 days of emptying troop trains, the lieutenant came up and stood in front of us, and he said, "We called you because you're going out on assignment now. You're going to leave Fort Sheridan. The bulk of you will be going for basic training, but these people," and they ticked off, I think 7, 8 names, "you're going to Fort McCoy and work in the separation center." And I was one of those people chosen. They assigned me to the claims office in right downstairs from where final pay was made. So if anyone had a question about their final pay, they forgot to pay me for my parachute jumps, or they forgot this, that, They would come upstairs to claims. We would then secure their personal records and check to see, yes, you got more money coming, or no, you got exactly what they. And so my responsibility was that until they closed the separation center at Fort Sheridan, at Camp McCoy. About a year after I got there, my name came up on a separation roster, and I thought, oh, hot dog, here I go. And so I did the things I'm supposed to do. I turned in my bedding and all that kind of thing. Went through all the various stages that you go through to clear that you don't have some illness or you don't have some needs. And we were sitting in the office waiting for our final pay, and a captain came in from Chicago who said, all releases from the Army are stopped as of this moment. You're going back to work. Yeah, everybody has a bad day once in a while.
Talk to me a little bit about how important family is to you.
Wow. Family is the structure for strength of any individual. If you don't have family relationships that are strong, you're missing a lot of life and living. It's critical for yourself. It's encouraging for the other members. And I say that not because I give, but I receive as much as I give. But if I didn't have family to support me, I'm sure I would not be here today. Family gives you strength, gives you direction, gives you a sense of satisfaction. Critical to our relationships that we over the years have fostered with each other.
What are some of your greatest accomplishments?
Well, number one would be marrying my wife and having 4 children. Nothing can compare to that. Just nothing. Carol was so solid and so consistent with each of her children that it made my job very easy. Just genuine, honest to goodness, every day, I love you. I think there was a tremendous amount of mutual respect there for parent, for child, that we didn't get into squabbles or say things that were difficult one day to retract. I think one of the things that too few people prioritize at a high level is the respect that you have for other people. And Carol had the ultimate of respect for herself and her family and the people with whom she came in contact. I learned a lot of those kinds of lessons from her. Not that my parents weren't that way, but my parents were not as liberal with it as Carol was. It was just such a big part of her personality, of her character, and we all profited from that powerfully.
When people talk about Elmer Jacobson years and years from now, what type of conversations are you hoping that they have?
Remember that crazy guy? You know, it's interesting that you asked me that because following the recent surgery that I have received cards from all over the country, from kids that I had in school whom I never expected to hear from, who have said, this is difficult to say, "You're the best teacher I ever had. You touched me in ways that others did not." I'm sure that that's not 100%, but it was free of them to write that and send that in a note to me to say, thank you. I'll stop at that and call it that, yeah. I don't think it's important for them to know Elmer Jacobson. I think it's important for them to be positive, be honest with themselves and their partners, to immerse yourself in positive experiences. Don't be looking for a handout. Be willing to earn a handout, but graciously accepted when it's offered. This has been an experience that I've never had before. It was a privilege to talk with you, to talk to you, to encourage you. Don't forget where your love comes from, where your counseling comes from, and you'll be fine in your future years. Honesty, religion, and love. I guess I would put it that way. Love came from my wife, my children's mother, 25, I was always a little older than she was.
I could see for miles